Hey, Paul, the spice. It's gotta flow. So over the past couple of months, we've been getting casting announcements for Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2. And I've gotta say, it's very interesting, the choices he has picked. So I'm going to talk about them in terms of casting announcement order. So the first announcement we got was of Florence Pugh as Princess Irulan, and I liked the casting a lot. If you guys have seen my fan casting video where I fan casted Dune Part 2, I mentioned Florence Pugh as a potential candidate to play Princess Irulan. Obviously, if you've seen the video, you know that I wanted Saoirse Ronan really badly to play Irulan because of the Little Woman connection. But the casting of Florence Pugh is still pretty good because we still do get the Little Woman connection. It's just that I prefer the irony of Saoirse being Irulan than Florence being Irulan, because obviously in Little Women, Saoirse Ronan's character Joe, Timothée Chalamet's character Laurie, was in love with Joe, but Joe rejects him.
I love you, Joe.
And you'd be ashamed of me.
I love you, Joe.
And a similar thing, spoilers for Dune, the ending of Dune and Dune Messiah, the Princess Irulan is in love with Paul Atreides, despite the fact that she's trying to overthrow him as Padishah Emperor. But still, she loves Paul at the very end. And it was an interesting thing that I really wanted Saoirse Ronan to play that, just because I think the dynamic would have been a bit richer. But nevertheless, Florence Pugh is still a fantastic actor. And not only that, I still get my Little Women connection, because obviously in Little Women, Florence Pugh's character Amy is in love with Timothée Chalamet's character Laurie, but Laurie doesn't love Amy for a good long while until obviously he's been rejected by Joe, and then he meets up with Amy in Europe, and then they fall in love and all that. So in a way, we still get the Little Women irony. It's just not as strong as if Saoirse was cast, but still, I'm very happy to see Florence Pugh cast, and I think she'll do a fantastic job. Now, getting on to Austin Butler as Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen. Is this going to be another video where I keep flip-flopping between Harkonnen and Harkonnen? But yeah, Austin Butler as Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen, I think, is a very interesting choice because I haven't seen him in much. I went on his IMDb and found that he played one of the Mansons in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And once I found that out, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And honestly, the more pictures I see of this guy, the more that he resembles not only Timothée Chalamet, but also he very much gives off the energy of Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen. I look at this guy and I'm like, there's something about him that makes me really, really sold on the casting of him as Feyd. Like, he looks perfect. Now, obviously, in my fan casting video, my top pick for Feyd-Rautha was Robert Pattinson, just because, in my mind, not only was he just a fantastic actor to portray the role, but also, he very much resembled what I was looking for in a Feyd-Rautha. And if you've seen Timothée Chalamet's The King, 2019's The King, he stars alongside Timothée Chalamet as the Dauphin. And so it would have been a nice little reunion of Pattinson and Chalamet if, Pattinson was cast as Feyd-Rautha. And I think it just would have worked, especially since the Dauphin in The King is pretty much just Feyd-Rautha. And the funny thing is that I remember that a couple of days before Austin Butler's casting announcement of him being Feyd-Rautha was released publicly, I remember Robert Pattinson was doing press for the Batman, and an interview came out where he was like, I really want to be in Dune Part 2. And the thing is, he said this alongside a photo shoot where he basically had like this crazy manic look, and it very much resembled a Feyd-Rautha look. I looked at it and I was like, oh my god, is this Pattinson teasing the fact that he's going to be Feyd-Rautha in Dune Part 2? Oh my god. And I got so excited, I was like, yes, he's going to be Feyd. And then literally a couple days later, they were like, Austin Butler is Feyd-Rautha. And I was like, oh. Like, good choice, but Pattinson, what? I don't doubt that Pattinson will eventually be in a Dune film. He will most likely be in Dune Messiah, where I could definitely see him playing Skytel, the Tleilaxu face dancer, who is the main antagonist of Dune Messiah, we'll say that. I could definitely see Pattinson fitting that role. But obviously, I would have loved to have seen him as Feyd-Rautha, but regardless of that, we have Austin Butler, and honestly, I am happy with it. Like, again, the more I see this guy, the more I see pictures of this guy, the more I'm like, yes, I can see what Denis is going for here. It's very much the idea of Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen. Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen is the mirror version of Paul Atreides. He is the darker version of Paul Atreides. For all of you that have read the books, you know why I'm putting darker in air quotes. But I really like the visual idea that Feyd-Rautha looks like Paul Atreides, and I really hope that he's the only Harkonnen with hair, because obviously Denis Villeneuve went for a very specific aesthetic choice in Dune Part 1 to make all the Harkonnens, I might, you know what, I'm just gonna embrace it. I'll just say Harkonnens, whatever. And I think it would be a very interesting choice if Denis made the Baron Harkonnen's nephew, his prized and beloved nephew, the only Harkonnen that had hair, because it very much adds to the idea that Feyd-Rautha is the Baron Harkonnen's favorite nephew. And the thing is, I just can't wait to see what he does with Feyd. I just can't wait to see Feyd, because like Feyd is a great character. I love his presence in the book. I kind of miss seeing him in part 1 because they pretty much just cut it out so they could introduce him in part 2. But narratively, there is a cool introductory scene in the book that would be the perfect introductory scene for the character in Dune Part 2, and just, I hope they do it. It's basically a gladiatorial arena scene, and it's awesome. And I just can't wait to see the big climax of the book where Paul and Feyd fight. Like, it's gonna be great. I can't wait. And I really love the idea that both of these films are going to end with knife fights, because obviously part 1 ends with the knife fight between Paul and Jamis, and in part 2 we're going to get the knife fight between Paul and Feyd, and just, like George Lucas said, it's poetry, it rhymes. And now we get to our most recent casting announcement, and that is of Christopher Walken as the Padishah Emperor Shaddam IV. And I have to say, that is a very, very interesting choice. It is very left field and not what I was expecting. Because in the books, the Padishah Emperor Shaddam IV is described to be a man who's in his mid-30s / mid-40s, but is actually around 80 years old, because in the books he takes the spice melange and that basically extends his life and all that stuff. And it was really surprising to see Denis Villeneuve cast someone that was older, who is around the Emperor's actual age rather than the way he actually looks. Because if you gave it to me, I probably would have cast someone like a Michael Fassbender, a Mads Mikkelsen, a Hugh Jackman, a Jared Leto, a Jake Gyllenhaal. But Christopher Walken, like, that is such a very bold and left field choice. Like, Christopher Walken is a great actor, but just, wow, like, I didn't expect that, but just, I think he will nail it. Like, I trust Denis Villeneuve in terms of his casting. He cast part 1 to perfection. Like, even with the changes they made to certain characters like Leah Kynes, Sharon Duncan Brewster just embodied that character perfectly, even though she is a woman and the character in the books is a man. She played the character perfectly, and I loved her in Dune Part 1, and so I trust Denis Villeneuve with his vision for Dune Part 2, because, I mean, he didn't let me down with the first one. The cast was one of the best parts of Dune Part 1. They were all phenomenal, just impeccably well cast. I am surprised if we're going to get any more casting announcements, just because I don't know if the Fenrings are going to be in Dune Part 2. I probably assume they will, and seeing as how they've just cast Christopher Walken as the Padishah Emperor, I can very much now see Denis Villeneuve going out and casting someone like a Tom Hanks or a Jeff Goldblum as Count Fenring. I think that could be very interesting. But I am curious as to whether or not we're going to get any more major casting announcements, since they've pretty much cast the major characters from the second part of the book. So I don't really know what else you can do apart from announce the Fenrings and, like, maybe smaller minor characters. I don't know. And honestly, I'm just dying to see Dune Part 2. Like, I watched Dune Part 1 so often. Like, it's one of those, like, little comfort films. I just put it on and I'm just like, man, I love this world. I want to see more of this world. It's great. Can we just have part 2 now? Can we have the extended edition? Like, please, Denis Villeneuve, I'm begging here. Please, give me the extended edition for Dune Part 1. Like, how much do I have to pay to bully Warner Brothers and or, like, spam hashtags and get bots to get hashtag release the Denis Villeneuve Dune Part 1 cut? How much do I have to pay? I am joking, by the way. Don't go around harassing directors and film studios because, like, that's not cool. But honestly, my excitement for Dune Part 2 is, like, through the roof. It is my most anticipated film of 2023. And I think 2023 is going to be the year of Chalamet, because I think that's when Wonka comes out as well. It comes out during Christmas time of 2023. And that film sounds amazing too, and just, I really hope Denis Villeneuve is able to get Timothée Chalamet another Oscar nomination, because he has material to do it. Paul's time with the Fremen and his ascension to religious leader of Muad'Dib, that is more than enough material to give Timothée Chalamet the opportunity to deliver a speech similar to his big, epic Make It England speech in The King.
You expected me a speech? I've only one to give.
If he can harness that energy and bring that to the God created Arrakis to train the faithful monologue, or the monologue where he rallies up the Fremen before they go and attack the Arrakeen palace. Oh boy, are we as an audience in for a treat, and is Chalamet in for a treat for getting another Oscar nomination? Like, I believe he can do it. Like, Chalamet is a more than capable actor.
Fight not for yourselves! Fight for that space! Fill that space! Make it tissue! Make it mass! Make it impenetrable! Make it yours!
I can't wait to see it. I want to see this film. I want to see how Denis Villeneuve wraps up the novel and how he translates that to the big screen, and just, I can't wait to see how he also sets up Dune Messiah, because you know he wants to do Dune Messiah. He's said it multiple times, and just, I can't wait. I genuinely cannot wait for Dune Part 2. Like, give it to me now. Give it to me now. I know it's filming this summer, but I want it now. Why didn't they film this back to back? But anyway, those are my thoughts on the casting announcements for Dune Part 2. But what do you guys think? Do you guys like them? Do you hate them? Who were your picks for the characters? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, follow me on social media, all that good stuff. And until we meet again, I'll see you guys next time.